Lesson 5.3. Our learning target says I can solve inequalities involving multiple steps. Our essential question today says how does solving a multi-step inequality compare to solving a multi-step equation? So the key words in this EQ are inequality and then equation. Our first inequality says solve and graph. 3y plus 7 is greater than 4. I'm going to draw a line separating the two sides of my inequality and circle my variable. On the same side with my variable, I have 3 times y plus 7. So the first thing that I need to do is leave the 3 that's attached to the y, leave it alone, and the inverse of adding 7 is subtracting 7. So on both sides of my inequality, I will subtract 7. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. I keep my inequality symbol greater than because when you are subtracting, you do not change your symbol. Now, my second step to get y by itself would be to divide by 3. Dividing by a positive 3 does not do anything to my symbol either. So it's only if you multiply or divide by a negative number that you need to worry about flipping your symbol, or if the variable is on the wrong side of the inequality when you go to graph. Negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. So on my graph, I need negative 1. Greater than is an open circle going to the right. And two numbers that are greater than negative 1 would be 0 and positive 1. My second example, circle the variable, draw the line. This time, the inverse of subtracting 13 is adding 13. So I can add 13 on both sides, which gives me 55. Adding does not change my inequality symbol. Now for my second step, I do need to change the symbol because I'm dividing by a negative number. Dividing both sides by negative 11 switches my inequality symbol. So if you divide by a negative, flip your symbol. Dividing by a negative number. So negative 11s cancel out. 55 divided by negative 11 is negative 5. So now I have y is less than negative 5. Less than is an open circle, but my ray goes to the left, and two numbers less than negative 5 would be negative 6 and negative 7. Example number 3. This one's a little bit trickier. The first thing I need to do is the inverse of 10. Because this is a positive 10, I need to subtract it to cancel it out. The negative sign right here is on the 2x, not on the 10. So 23 minus 10 is 13. Subtracting does not change my symbol. Now my division step, I'm dividing by negative 2. That does switch my symbol. So dividing by negative 2 switches my symbol. 13 divided by negative 2 is negative 6.5. And before I draw my graph, I want to turn around this entire inequality so that my variable's on the correct side. Remember, you always want your variable on the left-hand side. Okay, so this is a closed circle because there's a line under the symbol greater than or equal to. Closed circle going to the right. And I need two numbers that are greater than negative 6.5. So maybe I'll do negative 6 and then negative 5.5, just to keep it scaled at 0.5 each time. So they're moving closer to 0. Next one. So this one with a fraction in it means x is being divided by negative 4, and then we're adding 11. So the inverse of adding 11 is subtracting 11. So that's where I'm going to start. Subtracting does not change my inequality symbol. And 3 minus 11 is negative 8. Now my second step, I will need to multiply by -4. And remember, multiplying or dividing by a negative number flips your symbol. So flip the symbol because you're multiplying by a negative number. -8 times -4 is positive 32. And my variable is on the correct side. So 32 greater than or equal to is a closed circle to the right where the numbers get bigger. And greater than 32 is 33 and 34. Next one. I need to add 7 first. Cancel out subtracting 7. So x divided by 5 is less than or equal to 3. -4 plus 7 is 3. And then this time I'm multiplying by positive 5. So I don't flip my symbol. So x is less than or equal to 15. Less than or equal to is a closed circle, and it goes to the left. To the left of 15 would be 14 and 13. Okay. 2/3 x plus 4 is less than 1. First step, the inverse of adding 4 is subtracting 4. 1 minus 4 is -3. That does not flip my symbol. Then my second step this time, I can multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction to cancel out the entire fraction. So that means times 3 over 2 on both sides. So then it will cancel the 3's and the 2's in the fraction. Now because this is a positive, I'm not flipping my symbol when I multiply by this fraction. I do need to put a 1 under the -3 so that I can multiply straight across. -3 times 3 is -9, and 1 times 2 is 2. So -9 divided by 2 is -4.5. So on my graph, I can put -4.5. Less than is an open circle going to the left. And if I go by 0.5s, smaller would be -5 and then -5.5. All right, I think this is our last example. This one I would need to subtract 1 first. Cancel out adding 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. And then on this one, for my second step, notice the fraction is a negative. So I'm going to multiply by 3 over -4 on both sides. And because that is a negative that I'm multiplying by, I need to flip my symbol. Okay, so now these have canceled. My x is on the right-hand side. I put a 1 under my 8 and I multiply straight across. So 3 times 8 is 24. -4 times 1 is -4. So dividing those gives me -6 is less than x. So on this one, I am going to need to flip it around. So x is greater than -6 to get the variable on the left-hand side. So this one flipped twice. So I have -6. Now it's greater than -6. So it's going to be open going to the right. And greater than -6 is -5 and -4. And that was our last example. So hopefully you've got the hang of this, solving some multi-step inequalities.